Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day before starting the video. Please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. The soft, amber light of morning filtered through the snow-dusted streets of Hope Valley, creating a serene glow that seemed to hold the promise of something extraordinary. The townsfolk had grown used to surprises, but none could have prepared them for what was about to unfold, a return that would shake memories, open old wounds, and bring a sense of wonder to the heart of the community once more. Brooke Shields, whose unforgettable portrayal of Charlotte Thornton had once graced Hope Valley with quiet strength and resilience, was making her return, and not just for a fleeting visit. Word spread like wildfire that Charlotte was back, and that she wasn't coming alone. The last time Hope Valley saw Charlotte, she was a fiercely protective mother trying to guide her son, Jack Thornton, as he navigated the early days of his life as a Mountie in a small, rapidly growing town. Her presence had been strong, heartfelt, and deeply maternal, the kind of character who left an impression not just on the people of Hope Valley, but also on the viewers who followed her story. Now, after years of absence, she was returning to a very different Hope Valley, one still marked by Jack's loss, but also one full of hope, new beginnings, and a love that refused to fade. When Charlotte arrived by stagecoach, the entire town seemed to pause. The horses trotted to a gentle stop in front of the mercantile, and as the door swung open, there she was, dignified, graceful, and yet carrying the weight of years gone by in her eyes. The murmur among onlookers quickly gave way to stunned silence. Elizabeth Thornton, standing outside the schoolhouse, could hardly believe her eyes. Her breath caught as she took a hesitant step forward. "Charlotte," she whispered, the sound barely leaving her lips. Charlotte turned, her face softening as she saw the woman her son had loved more than life itself. "Elizabeth," she said warmly, her voice steady despite the emotion she was trying to contain. "You look radiant, just like Jack said you would." For a long moment, neither woman spoke. The unspoken memories hung in the air of laughter, of heartbreak, of the young Mountie whose legacy still lived in every corner of Hope Valley. Finally, Elizabeth smiled, though tears brimmed in her eyes. "It's been too long," she said quietly. "Too long," Charlotte agreed. "But I felt it was time. There's something here I need to make peace with." Rumors flew almost immediately. What was Charlotte doing back? Was she here for good? Was she perhaps thinking of staying in Hope Valley? Or had she come with news that would once again alter the course of Elizabeth's life? Nathan Grant, the steady Mountie who had slowly earned Elizabeth's trust and affection, couldn't help but be curious himself. He'd heard stories of Charlotte from old Mountie records and from those who knew Jack best. Seeing her in person was like watching a piece of Hope Valley's past step straight out of history. When he finally met her on Main Street, their exchange was both respectful and meaningful. "You must be Charlotte Thornton," Nathan said, tipping his hat. "And you must be the man who wears the red serge now," she replied with a faint smile. "Jack would have liked you." "Okay." Nathan, usually composed, found himself momentarily speechless. "That means more than you know, ma'am," he finally said, his tone sincere. Charlotte studied him for a moment, her sharp, perceptive eyes catching something that others might have missed: the quiet love Nathan carried for Elizabeth, and the restraint with which he bore it. She could tell he was a man of integrity, just like her son. But there was also something in his eyes, a sadness, a weight he carried much like the one she herself bore. In the following days, Charlotte's presence became both a comfort and a stir. She spent hours with little Jack, teaching him how to ride a pony just as she once taught his father, telling him stories of the man he'd never met, but who lived vividly through every tale. For Elizabeth, it was bittersweet to see her son laughing with his grandmother, to hear Jack's name spoken so freely again, yet to feel old emotions surface that she thought had long since quieted. At the cafe, Rosemary Coulter couldn't resist her curiosity. "Can you believe it, Lee?" she whispered as they watched Charlotte stroll by with Elizabeth. "Charlotte Thornton back in Hope Valley. The stories I've heard about her, strong, decisive, a woman who always speaks her mind. Oh, I simply must get her to join us for dinner. Lee chuckled, stirring his coffee. You just want to interview her for your column? Well, Rosemary admitted with a grin, maybe a little. But can you imagine the reader's delight? The mother of Jack Thornton back in town after all these years. That's the kind of story Hope Valley lives for. But as the days passed, it became clear that Charlotte's return wasn't just a social visit. There was something deeper beneath the surface, something unresolved that she was here to confront. One evening, as the town gathered for a community dinner, Charlotte's gaze fell on the Mountie Memorial outside the chapel. The engraved names shimmered in the lantern light among them. Jack Thornton. She walked quietly to the monument, her hands trembling slightly as she traced his name with her fingers. "Oh, my boy," she whispered. "You gave everything for this place. For her. For your family. I just hope it was worth it." Elizabeth found her there not long after, standing silently beside her. "He's never really gone. You know," Elizabeth said softly. "I see him every day in little Jack's smile. In the way the sunlight hits the schoolhouse, even in the courage of the people who call this town home." Charlotte turned to her, her eyes glistening. "You're stronger than I ever was, Elizabeth. Jack saw that in you from the start. He told me once that you had the heart of Hope Valley. Now I understand what he meant. Their bond, once distant, began to heal in that quiet moment. Both women carried Jack's memory in different ways. But now they were united in something deeper, a shared understanding that love, even in loss, could continue to shape the future. As winter deepened, Charlotte began to consider what it might mean to stay. She helped at the infirmary, offering her practical knowledge and comforting presence to those in need. She became close with Florence and Molly, who admired her fortitude, and even shared tea with Abigail when she returned to visit from out of town. For Hope Valley, it was as if a missing piece of its heart had been restored. And yet, for all the peace her return brought, there were whispers of something more. Some believed Charlotte had come with a message that perhaps she'd discovered something about Jack's final mission, or that a letter had surfaced, one written before his last ride into danger. Elizabeth noticed the way Charlotte sometimes lingered near the post office, holding a small envelope as if unsure whether to open it. One snowy afternoon, as Elizabeth visited her, Charlotte finally spoke. "I wasn't honest about why I came," she said, setting down her teacup. "When I left the North, I received a letter, one addressed to me in Jack's handwriting. It had been lost for years, somehow delayed. I've read it 100 times, but I needed to see you before I could decide what to do with it." Elizabeth's heart skipped. A letter. From Jack. Charlotte nodded, her eyes misting. "He wrote it before his last patrol. He said if anything ever happened to him, he wanted me to tell you something. But I think it's time you read it yourself." With trembling hands, Elizabeth unfolded the yellowed paper. The familiar handwriting leapt from the page, strong, steady, filled with love. "My dearest Elizabeth," it began. "If you're reading this, it means I wasn't able to keep my promise to come home. But please know that you and the life we dreamed of will always live on in Hope Valley. Tell our child, if we are blessed to have one, that I loved him before I ever met him. And tell my mother that I'm proud of her for teaching me to love fearlessly." Tears streamed down Elizabeth's face as she clutched the letter. Charlotte reached across the table and took her hand. "Now you see why I had to come," she said softly. "He wanted you to hear it from me, that his love for you both never ended. It's time we both stopped mourning and started living again." That moment changed everything. For Elizabeth, it brought closure she never knew she still needed. For Charlotte, it was the release of years of silent grief. Hope Valley seemed to shine a little brighter after that day, as if the town itself could feel the peace that had settled between the two women by spring. Charlotte made her decision. She would stay in Hope Valley, not just as a visitor, but as a member of the community her son once served. She began teaching herbal remedies and home care to the younger women in town, working alongside Faith Carter at the infirmary. Her laughter returned, echoing through the streets like a melody that had been missing for too long. Nathan, watching her from a distance, felt something stir within him too. Charlotte's courage and wisdom reminded him of what Hope Valley truly meant: resilience, compassion, and second chances. And for Elizabeth, Charlotte's presence became a reminder that life's story doesn't end with loss. It continues through love, friendship, and the quiet grace of forgiveness. One evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, Elizabeth, Charlotte, and little Jack stood together near the bridge, the same bridge where Jack had once declared his love. The golden light shimmered on the water, and Charlotte smiled as she took her grandson's hand. "He's with us," she said softly. Elizabeth nodded.